Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Devil May Cry 4 on Not Dante Must Die. This is the Inferno chapter. What difficulty are we playing on? Legendary Dark Knight mode, that's what it is. Long chapter, difficult fight here. Struggling to come up with some answers here. And I almost decided, let me just look and see what Kirnoth did over here. But I didn't. The temptation was there, and I would have done it if my phone had been in reach, but I just said, no, I'll just do it. So, they're adding puppets here, and more of the cutlasses. So what I do is I stinger, spam, kill the puppets. I'm going to be doing a lot of spamming of the stinger because it's extremely powerful. And it works well when enemies are driven back effectively with it. So on these guys here, what I decided to do finally was to use the Dark Slayer and do I think you can press the analog forward or backward while you're holding the right bumper, and then use the style button, whichever button that is for your style scheme. And it works pretty well on getting these mechanical fish above ground, because swimming underground you can't do anything. But as long as you can get them up, you can start stingering them. So what I was doing was relying on the Dark Slayer's style move, which is that. As long as it hits them, it's fine, but it's hard just to hit them because it doesn't have much range. And they have to actually be hit by one of the lines. So it's a pretty messy encounter here. One of the issues is getting interrupted. I think that's one of my main I can't really say that it's a drawback of the game, but it's just one of those things that always drives me nuts, whether you're building up any kind of combo for the real impact or for the drive, anything that requires you to stay in one place and kind of hope that an enemy won't hit you. Now, if you know an enemy's pattern, you can take the skill factor out. I mean, not the skill factor, but the luck variant out of it, and rely on your skill to use the timing of the enemy's weak exposure times to get them. But an enemy like this has no regular pattern. So it's just this one guy left. And if you have any other strategies, add them to the comments field, because a lot of people, they watch a video and then they're also interested in what people are saying in the comments. Extremely helpful. I've come across so many strategies just by, like, for instance, the way that in The Last of Us you can use the aiming to go slower without having to being forced to walk by very lightly moving the analog stick forward. I read that in a comment on one of the Seraphim 17's videos by somebody, and I would never have known that if I hadn't read it in the comments, because he didn't bring it up. Somebody else did in the comments. And if I had seen that comment, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe somebody else would have brought it to my attention. But this is a really, really long level, because you start here and you've got to go all the way to Burial. And you can do this without taking damage. It's extremely possible to. But technically, you do take damage from the fog. I'm speeding this up. But, take like a Godfather Dictator run. He'll do this, but he won't even pay any attention to the health that's going down, because all he cares about is not getting hit. Because it's like trying to do something that you just have no control of. Like enemy drops, So in this room, normally you have the blades, not the cutlasses, but the Gradiuses in this room, which take to the charge shot of the shotgun. And I was confusing Nero's checkpoint for the checkpoint on this stage, which is a bit further into the stage, because they don't make you play the game in this chapter. For some reason, Dante is too cool to play the game or something. I'm not sure why. But, goddamn bug on my monitor. So, I am trying to be positive. I know in the last couple of videos I've been lamenting the fact that this game isn't challenging me. And it isn't. I'm not lying saying that it's not challenging me when on the side I am getting challenged. It's not like that. I will say that the first section in chapter 18 is chapter 19, when you're doing the encounter with all these guys here. But it's not any of the Gradiuses, it's just the Angelos. And there's a lot more enemies on the screen this time. And when they're throwing their projectile, there's so many on screen. Sometimes some of them separate from the pack that's throwing the projectile, and then what's end up happening is that sometimes he'll aim at an enemy off to the side, and then they'll throw the ball. You can control where you're aiming, obviously, but sometimes you have to do it very quick. It's like a 2 or 3 second decision, all combined in like a 1 second action. So I did die over here once because I was allowing myself to play really sloppy and I was taking a lot of hits. And I thought I could... Oh, did I get this? Yeah, very, very lucky. But that's the first time I've done that with this character. And note its flexibility there. So there's that cache of orbs, and then all of the switches that Nero hit, we hit as Nero rather, they don't have to be hit, so just ignore them. But anyway, I'm trying to bring as much some positivity into the guide rather than dwelling on how this game is not hard. Because it is very hard on Dante Must Die difficulty, but this difficulty, I wouldn't say so. But I am curious about the final boss, if that's going to challenge me, because without using items. Because I refuse to use items on that. But now I know some more tricks for that boss. I don't think it'll be so bad, but I need to bring more skill than I brought before, definitely. So, there's plenty of health drops. I mean, this really would be hard if you weren't given health drops too, which are very frequent on this difficulty. And that's something that's completely uncontrollable. But even on Dante Must Die, they still give you health drops. So, there's no fight over here, the way there was when we were in this circular place as Nero. Then when you come down here, we're going to have a pretty big brawl. These guys here. So that time, I think they did it too quickly for me. But yeah, I would say that there's like 5 times as many Nilo Angelos in Chapter 19 stage, and I am going to be including it because there are awards in this game. Kind of like ribbons that you can get. They're achievements, but they're not the 360 kind of achievements. They're just awards. They're no less... oh, I got that one too, didn't I? I think they're equally as valid and something to be proud of. The achievements versus the ribbons or the... what was I calling them? Accomplishments? It doesn't much matter, because it all comes down to the same type of thing. It's an electronic metal, which has no tangibility, but it's still something that a lot of people strive for and are proud of when they get it. So yeah, pretty big room. Most of these guys will end up killing themselves which cuts the numbers down drastically. And other than that, Prop Shredder works really well. The Real Impact is not viable here because these guys are not unless there's a couple of enemies left and you break an enemy's shield and then the other guy is walking around somewhere. It's just too difficult with all these guys moving around. You know, just lining it up is hard enough, but then having the time you need to make it happen. What else? There's a pretty big brawl in what's it called? The Adagio for strings level, where on Dante Must Die and all the other difficulties they just had scarecrows, mega scarecrows, and dogs. Now there's all of those things, plus there's a blitz, and I think just a lot more dogs and just a lot more enemies. Dogs once again being a problem when we're this character, unless you can get in a lot of stingers without getting interrupted by the fireball. And then once we come in here, I've sped this up all the way over here, and this is one of the reasons why this video is not too long when it could have been very long. But we're heading outside now. We'll be on the second floor of the castle, and then all you need to do is leave the castle. But this is a big fight coming up. So as you can see, I've hit all the chairs, and then left that footage out. And then once you go to the next screen, you'll get a cutscene where the dogs are coming to your location. And then I thought what I would do is use the spaceship a little bit over here, but it's not only can you get knocked out of it, but it's just slow and ineffectual. It's just not strong. I think I used the spaceship on the next part with some of the dogs, but there is a challenge where you're not supposed to get hit. I think it's called Unbreakable, and there is a viable strategy with using the spaceship there if you keep the camera off of the enemies, and as long as you can jump back up into the air quickly without getting tail slashed. So this is a pretty tough encounter too. I'm not sure when the blitz comes, but just be thankful. If it's a timed deal, then you want to definitely be very rapid here with killing enemies. But if it's just he comes when you kill 15 dogs, and there's no reason to hurry. I kind of prefer either way sometimes. Sometimes I like knowing that I can base a strategy off killing a certain number of enemies, but sometimes I also, it's got its place. Games like God of War do it very frequently. So I know I'm being spammy here with the stinger, but it's very effective because it pushes the guy backwards continually. So this is just a very large scale encounter. I'm going to take care of the piece of shit Blizzard or whatever, the Blade. What the hell is he? I don't know what he is. He's a piece of dead shit, I guess. Or soon will be. But anyway, I've got to finish this guide by tomorrow morning because I've got to go to court on Wednesday. Having received a subpoena, but I can't talk about it. Why am I even mentioning it? I don't know. But I don't know. It's nothing. It's no big deal. It's just that I was thinking about drawing the blank while testifying. It's kind of the same way when you're drawing a blank when you're audio recording. So much drawing of blanks. It's not funny. And then you hear yourself when you watch your own commentaries and you're saying the wrong thing so many times without you yourself having realized it when you spoke. And I hope when people see that, they realize that it's just a mistake, a verbal mistake, because those abound while you're speaking extemporaneously like I do. I have no notes. I mean, I'm sitting in darkness. I have no reason to have notes anywhere. And no way, unless I had a flashlight, to use notes. So, the Blitz, that's what he is. I was combining Blitz and Blade there for a second, but we're kicking and then canceling it out with the Royal Guard to not take damage. And then we'll have another encounter with dogs that you can skip if you want to, but I felt that I would feel badly if I skipped it. So it's one of those encounters where you can easily die if you're low on HP. So these guys of late have been moving a little bit. They have been being shifty. So fortunately we took them down. Because before, you might remember that I usually was saying that they don't give me too much of a problem. Oh, I missed that. I think I left all those in because this was one continuous reel of footage. But one of the challenges is over in this arena. And I saw Kirnath one time. He was using the Lucifer to make himself jump higher over here. If you watch his challenges video, his secret missions video, and I've never figured out how to do that, how to lift yourself up by using those things with the Lucifer. So if anybody can teach me, please let me know, because I think it has to do with pinning them in and then detonating them when you want to jump up, so it gives you a boost up, but I don't know. So here is the end of that strategy. You can use the poles over here to get yourself some HP, and like I mentioned, you can just skip this. And I think I'm going to use the Devil Trigger over here just to give myself a little more HP. If you're at the brink of death and you have a lot of Devil Trigger, go ahead and use the Devil Trigger to fill your health gauge up a little bit. And I can't remember what they do on other difficulties, but on this difficulty, what they're doing to me, here's me running into a wall so many times, but on this difficulty for me, if I have like all the Devil Trigger I have now, if I die, they'll just start me with 3. And I thought they filled you up. But anyway, I gave up on that orb over there. Now we're going to take on Burial in a second. Back on chapter 2 or 3, we're fighting a bunch of Fausts over here, or Mephistos. And over there is a blue orb, but I've already got it, obviously. Fragment, not an orb. You can only buy the orbs. But here he is anyway. It's not too difficult. So what we're going to do is have the Gilgamesh equipped and, wait for him to swing. Or not, as I did right there. Just wait for him to swing, double jump, and sometimes it feels like I can get it on landing, real impact, if you will. Don't stay behind him; he'll kick you. What I'm doing on these real impacts that I'm not getting too much damage off, I've realized, is I'm pressing the Devil Trigger too quickly at first. So I need to hold off a little bit, and it works better. But just get away when he does that. It'll only take like 2.5 bars off your health on this mode. So if you want, just stay where you're at. It doesn't much matter. And just do these, and we'll moving on to Adagio for Strings. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching my campaign.